What's your best the customer is not always right story? I once worked at Kinko's, long ago. One dude was so angry, even as I started helping him. He asked for a bunch of copies. I made them and set them down in front of him. How's that look, I asked. Well, you printed them upside down. Guy was edgy. So I turned the stack of pages 180 degrees. The guy says, "Dut, I don't like your attitude. Some people are determined to be displeased." That phrase, determined to be displeased, is quite satisfying in both its sentiment and the way it rolls off the tongue. Worked in a store that sells ice cream cakes. Woman came in with half a cake. We thought it had been melted. Nope. Much more concerning, her son had a piece yesterday and got ill. They didn't make the connection until the daughter ate a piece that morning and also became ill. To say the least, my manager was freaking out. If there's some kind of food poisoning going on, the whole store could be shut down and it would be a huge mess. She passes me the cake and tells me to check who made it so we can call it in. I open up the case, look at it, and it took every bit of control I could muster to not laugh in front of the customer. The cake was a Valentine's Day cake, and it was September. My manager had to explain to the woman that half-eaten ice cream cakes don't hold for a half a year, and the woman kept insisting we test it. I'm a cake decorator. We recently had a customer pick up her cake which had a printed picture of a high heel shoe that she sent us. On top, she goes, "What the frick is this?" and starts flipping out, banging on tables, screaming at the top of her lungs in front of other customers, trying to fight the owner, threatening to come back with a gun. We had to call the cops. Turns out, she had wanted a lifelike edible version of the shoe, not a printed picture. So all this, because when she ordered the cake she did not know the difference between 2D and 3D. Just remember, kids, it's worth threatening people and sacrificing your freedom because you didn't like your cake. I was working at a concession at a racetrack at the time, running the register. This one particular night it was super busy. It was the last race weekend of the season. We ran out of Coke, and the deep fryer caught fire. I was at the burger stand and the line was crazy. This one lady came and ordered a burger with cheese. Trying to be quick, I yelled back to the cooks, "1 cheeseburger." She looks at me and huffs. "No, I said a burger with cheese, not a cheeseburger," so I had to yell back, "Sorry, a burger with cheese. Cancel the cheeseburger." It's just one of the many moments in my customer service retail career that made me question my sanity just a little. This reminded me of when I was in Japan and had to do this as a customer. I wanted a hamburger, but the lady said, "I'm very sorry, we don't carry hamburgers anymore, only cheeseburgers." I donned my best poker face and said, I understand. A cheeseburger please, without cheese." I got my hamburger. We write software for scanning tickets at clubs. The software allows you to get a report of how many people were checked in overall, so it's used to prove that the place isn't over capacity. A potential client wanted a secret button he could click that would lower the ticket count by 15% in case the fire marshal showed up. Should have made it go up by 15% if the fire marshal showed up and he pressed it. As the cashier behind me finishes ringing up the customer's order for groceries, well over $100, the man yells at the cashier that the total is wrong. The register added incorrectly. The cashier and him went over every item to make sure nothing was the wrong price or double scanned. Everything scanned was correct. The machine just added incorrectly according to him. This poor lady had to clear out the order, which is a very difficult process. Take everything out of the bags and ring it up again. Same total. I was a furniture delivery guy in college. A woman ordered this high-back red leather chair. We delivered it and she complained about the grain in the leather. We explained that leather is a natural product and bears irregularities. If she wanted uniformity, she should buy vinyl. She got insulted and informed us in no uncertain terms that she was well off and would only buy genuine leather. We took the chair back to the store and exchanged it for the other one we had, a floor model. We brought that one out and she did the same thing, pointing out things in the grain that she disliked. We took it back to the store and asked the owner what to do. By then the chair was actually no longer made, so he told us to bring the first chair again. We delivered those same 2 chairs 7 times. She never caught on and eventually decided she really liked the 7th chair, which was, of course, the one she originally hated. Used to work in a pharmacy in Ontario, Canada. If you are 65 plus, the government will pay for your meds once you have paid a certain amount in a year out of pocket. This was 7 years ago, so I don't remember exactly what the amount was, but it was around $250 or something. Basically, starting in August you paid for all your expenses out of pocket until you hit the magic number, then the government paid for everything minus the dispensing fee. Anyway, for months and months ahead of time we would give reminders to the older patients who came to the pharmacy saying, okay, next time you come in for a refill you'll have to pay the full amount. In approximately 80% of cases they did not believe me when the time came. Would start yelling at me, threatening to call their doctor, lawyer, kids or grandkids. Pharmacists would inevitably have to come over and defuse the situation. Repeated every year for the 4 years I worked there. Freaking old people. I used to work in a patisserie. We specialized in wedding cakes, and this guy ordered a Noah's Ark cake. My boss made these cute little fondant animals going into an ark on the sides of the baby blue cake. The customer came to pick it up, and as soon as he looked at the cake his nose scrunched up and he frowned. He said, "This cake looks absolutely horrible. I demand a refund," as he had prepaid. I called my boss several times, but no answer, and I told him I could hold on to the cake until my boss was free and could call him back personally. He starts yelling at me, a minimum wage cashier, and demanding his refund. I told him I wasn't able to because of my position and tried calling my boss again. He continued yelling. I asked him to calm down or I would have to ask him to leave. He yelled back at me one more time, "I want my freaking refund," to which I told him again I couldn't do. So his response was to open the cake box, remove the cake, and throw it at me. I ducked. It hit the wall, and I told him in no small way that he wouldn't get his refund back, and if he didn't leave I would call the cops. The next day he called the patisserie and demanded to talk to my boss. She told him that since he threw the cake at her employee and that he wouldn't just relax and let her call him back, he wouldn't get his cake and was permanently banned from the establishment. TLDR. Some guy ordered a cake and threw it at me when I couldn't get him a refund without my boss. In college, I worked for a kitchen bath bedding superstore. There was a special on high-end pots and pan sets. Essentially, if you bought a particular set, $250-ish, you got an accompanying pan for 1 cent. The signage was very clear that the bonus pan was only a penny if you bought the full set. It was in large print. I was a cashier, and I rang up the pan for the regular price, $75, because she didn't have the set. She immediately exploded and said the pan was on sale for 1 penny. I didn't work in that depth but knew that was bulls. I called my other manager up, who calmly explained what the special was. She said we were trying to scam her and manipulate customers, and actually made us call corporate because we were too stupid to understand the sale. After she and my manager spoke to someone, corporate said to give her the pan for a penny and tell her we appreciated her business. I, to this day, remain peeved that the woman was rewarded for throwing a hissy fit. Worked on a ferry dock that sent cars over. On a fairly busy day a woman came and parked her car in the ferry line and then left. When the ferry came, we had to load the cars on the ferry. Customers drove them on first. Well, this woman wasn't back yet, so we had caused a huge confusion on the dock trying to fish out the cars and trucks behind her. We finally got everything loaded and sent the boat off, only about 5-10 minutes late on a tight schedule. Woman comes back and sees that we skipped her and starts bitching at me, an 18-year-old lowly dockhand, and starts bitching hardcore about how we weren't allowed to skip her and should have went looking for her. I told her that we've never done that and how she caused us to be late. She then asked for my superior, who luckily backed me up. She then, still not convinced, called the owner of a ferry because of course she knew him. That's when I thought I was fricked, because even though I knew I was right, I thought the owner would take the side of his friend. However, he stayed on my side and defended me, much to the anger of this woman. We got her on the next ferry, and I told the captain to put her car on the side that would get the most water from the waves, and he smiled and did so. A few hours later the owner of the ferry came over and bought me an ice cream, telling me he was sorry I had to deal with his bitchy friend. TLDR. Got ice cream from my boss because bitchy customer thought time revolved around her. Working at a pawn shop when a kid and his parents come in. The kid wants to sell his original Xbox and wants an outrageous amount, claiming he had modded it and installed a large HDD. Parents were backing him up during the whole thing, claiming how he was so good with computers and technology. At the time I was modding plenty of Xboxes for friends, so right off the bat I could tell the kid was full of crap. The Xbox still had the stock crappy dashboard and warranty sticker had not been broken yet. Still couldn't convince the kid's parents otherwise. Finally I cracked the case open on the counter and showed the parents the stock 8GB drive. Needless to say they were peed there so and left with him in tow and the Xbox. Felt pretty good after that. I'm happy that it was simply a case of the parents trusting their son and then being reasonable after being proven wrong. I'd be mad if they'd instantly dismissed what he said because he's a kid, and just as mad if they'd insisted they were right about his mods and crap after proven wrong. Back in the day of working a crappy drive-thru, I had a guy in a new car come through and proceed to hit a pole or wall on his way up. He began to yell at me about how this car just cost him $40,000 and he is expecting compensation for the damage we did to his car and how it's all our fault. I told him that if he is going to buy a car that expensive he should be able to drive it properly, which I know was rather rude, but 15-year-old me had no patience for anyone like that, and then rang up his order. He then went off again about how we should be compensating him for his car and he couldn't believe I was going to, gasp, still charge him for his meal. Sorry buddy, I am not responsible for your inability to drive. I had a customer read my name tag when I worked at a local coffee shop. He then looked at me and said, "That is a very peculiar name." I mentioned to him I was named after an automobile. He then proceeded to tell me that I could not be named after an automobile because that is illegal. Me being polite just went along with him, until he told me that I should change my name because it was copyright infringement and that he will report me to the right authorities. I really hated that job. With people like this you should just play along. Yep. My parents bought the rights to use it as a name and had to pay $10,000 for the rights to use it, and half my salary goes to maintaining the rights every year. Worked at GameStop. We had a policy against returning opened new games. However, the way the games were stored displayed meant the last copy was always opened. Case on the floor, game behind the counter. In this case we had plastic stickers we placed over the edge to seal it, and always pointed this out to customers, at least at my store. So this rich looking lady comes in, tosses a crappy Pets DS game on the counter and demands a refund. It's the display copy, and I can immediately see there is no plastic seal. I kindly explained the policy to her, apologized, offered a trade-in, etc. She was not having it, and became increasingly rude. Well, he didn't open it. He's been with me the whole time. The game was bought over a week prior. He just doesn't want it. Are you calling me a liar? Typical entitled customer bulls. So I finally decide I'm done. I'm dropping it. Score 1 for the customer. I'll convert the game to used later. I open the case to put the game in an envelope, and it's not there. The look on this woman's face after she had rudely insisted for 10 minutes that her bratty kid had never opened the thing was absolutely freaking priceless. I just showed her and she walked out without another word. I'm surprised she didn't try to insist that you sold her an empty case. How dare you sell me an unopened empty case? I work in a large chain home improvement store. I don't know how often it is demanded of me, a barely above entry level employee, to provide a 35 to 50% discount on all kinds of goods. Whenever I refuse they want the manager, who tells them the same. When the manager leaves, they try me again like I'll magically be capable and willing to give them absurd discounts. You start smiling at them and you say today's your lucky day. Today is deep discount day. Then you ring everything up at the full price. They'll go, wait a minute, I thought you said today's deep discount day. Then you say today's your lucky day. Today is deep discount day, while staring directly at them at a point 10 feet past their face. And you smile the whole time you're doing it. I used to work in university housing. A dad called my supervisor and demanded that his son's roommate get evicted because his son bribed the roommate to move out and he didn't. Oh no. That guy's son also harassed me, threatened me, asked me to embezzle money, demanded me, my staff, and my boss be fired, then sued me. He wants to be a congressman, no joke. I have complete confidence that he will, in fact, be a congressman one day. When I waited tables, a lady got mad at me because her iced tea wasn't cold. I couldn't find a way to chill it since she told me minutes earlier that she was allergic to ice. While working at the store that was created in the very depths of Satan's anus, Walmart, I was pulled from my regular spot in apparel to the registers when they were having a huge wave of people. Having done registers 2 or 3 times, I was pretty used to it and was only a little challenged with remembering the fruit vegetable codes and such. So anyway, I open a lane and up walks a very wide, very tall man with a cart overflowing with food. Cool, whatever. I ask how he is and begin ringing up his items. All is well and we're about $350 into his transaction when the goddamn cabbage reaches me. It didn't have a sticker and I didn't remember the code, so I quickly check the chart by the register for the code, type it in, the scale weighs the infant-sized cabbage and calculates the price. All is well. I go to bag the cabbage when I hear, "That's not how much that is." I double check to make sure it wasn't rung up multiple times and explain that it costs X amount per whatever weight. Cabbage is poor man's food, it shouldn't be that freaking much. I'm not paying that much for cabbage. Once again I try to explain to him that it's all based on weight and I can't lower the price of his cabbage. After yelling at me and berating me over this, he wants to see a manager. Fine. Frick you, but fine. So I call up a manager who is obviously already very done with everyone's crap and explain to him what's going on. He tells the customer exactly what I did but offers to remove it if it's really that big of a deal. Guy says no, it's fine, whatever. At this point I'm nearly in tears and just want to get back to folding t-shirts. I finish ringing up his items in silence while the customer keeps telling me how I should at least offer him a discount or give him the cabbage for free since I caused so much trouble. TLDR. Fat man screams at me about the price of his cabbage despite his entire purchase being around $400. He wanted you to give him a discount for the trouble you caused by charging him the correct price. That's an impressive amount of gall. I'm a pharmacy technician and one time a patient told me her doctor said she could not have Tylenol, but Acetaminophen was fine. But they're the same thing. Tylenol is just the brand name. She was convinced I was wrong. I used to do outdoor catering. We would set up a grill and buffet at people's houses. We cook, they ate. One windy day I was set up for a grad party or something cooking away. There was only one location I was allowed to grill, so that's where they put me. Fine. After the burger grease and such start falling onto the coals, a significant amount of smoke rises as you would expect. The wind was blowing it in their direction. Mind you, they're like 30 yards away, so it's not like I'm fumigating them. The lady comes over screaming to make the smoke stop going that way and proceeds to tell me to turn the grill the other way. Mom, the orientation of the grill will not change wind direction. After arguing with her, I rotate the grill. Smoke still coming. She then proceeds to tell me how I need a wall to block the smoke. Calls my boss, complains about me, about smoke, about not having a wall by the grill, which would accomplish about as much as turning the grill around. But then the wind would just blow some of the smoke over the wall in her direction and then she will demand a higher wall. I worked retail as an assistant manager for a few years while in college. I had a woman come in and proceed to tell me she had a return. She said she needed to return her wallet because the purse that matched it had broke, so she had no use for it now. I proceeded to smile and ask where the return was. She then proceeded to show me the wallet she was using and started pulling her money, license, and act out of it. This wallet looked beat to heck and broken in. It looked like you would figure an old wallet would look. I stood there for a minute contemplating if this woman was for real. Turns out, she was. I told her, "Ma'am, I cannot take back a used wallet because you bought a matching purse and it broke." She went on a tirade from there. "Your other store took the purse back and I had used it. Blah blah blah. I want my money. Rah rah rah. I want to talk to your manager." He looked at it and told her no. She spent another 20 minutes getting the district manager's number. She went on yelling about how we were racist and if she was white we would have returned it. We were both minorities, might I add. We didn't return it because it was used to heck. It had her money, license, credit cards, and kid's photo in, and for God's sake, no, I am not returning the wallet you walked in using. Oh, without the receipt, might I also add. Retail never ceased to amaze me. Dude came in wanting to return a can of Lysol. No problem, except the can looked like it was from the 70s. was rusty, and his receipt was from a local store that closed in the late 80s. Probably not the greatest story ever, but here goes. I work at a fuel depot in a small town in Oss, and our focus is on delivering to local farms. We do run fuel on the forecourt, but we don't keep usual service station hours. I had just returned from my scheduled 1-hour lunch break to find a gentleman on the forecourt waiting to fuel up with LPG, of which we are the only supplier in town. After filling up and coming up to pay, he proceeds to ask what kind of fuel station closes for lunch. After explaining that I am required by law to close for lunch, he launches into a tirade. That's nonsense. There's no such law about fuel stations closing for lunch, and begins to call me a lazy prick and a liar. After a few minutes of me staring deadpan, he finally finishes complaining. I politely, but not calmly, explain that Australia's laws, and more specifically, my award agreement, specifies that I can work 5 hours before taking a mandatory lunch break, and that any issues with my working hours need to be raised with my manager, and that I would give him my manager's number if he would like to follow it up. The bloke ended up leaving, and the next day my manager called to ask what had happened. I explained everything, and my manager then told me this gentleman claimed he had been ignored, and then verbally abused when he had requested service. My manager had already checked the security camera footage and seen what had happened, and just wanted to confirm. Frick that guy though. Back when I was working at a small ice cream store, we made our own ice cream. There was a woman who came in asking for a few pints of vanilla. While I was filling up the containers, she mentioned to me that she was going on the road and that she wanted it packed in such a way that it wouldn't melt. I told her that I wasn't aware of anything like that, but since I was a new employee at the time, I asked one of my more senior colleagues to help me out. She came out and told the woman that we don't have anything like that, and that we've never had anything like that. The woman insisted that she'd been given this packaging before, and when my friend firmly told her that was impossible, she started throwing a fit. Tears were in fact shed, until my manager came out and calmed her down. I wrapped it as best I could in paper bags, and she left, clearly still upset. My manager then turned to me and said that woman has been here 3 times. She has always asked for insulation. We've never had any and never given her anything beyond extra paper bags. I used to work at a frozen yogurt place. We'd just give them bags with ziplocks of ice around them. I worked at a drugstore as a cashier shift supervisor for 7 years, so I have 1,000 stories I could tell. Some of the worst customers were the extreme couponers. I love a good deal as much as the next person, but we had a handful of regulars who would scam our policies, thinking they were so much smarter than us, and we couldn't do anything about it. One of the worst times was when I almost called the cops on a guy for screaming at me, leaning over the counter and pointing his finger in my face. I don't remember the exact item, but it was for a certain brand and specific count of vitamin, not even in small print very clearly stated. The brand was on sale, but only up to a certain size, not including what the coupon was for. He demanded I let him use the coupon so he could basically get it for free. Mind you, like $3 off or something, and when I wouldn't he called me stupid and got in my face. He used the customer is always right line on me, and I said, well, in this case you should probably read the coupon and I won't commit fraud. TLDR. Angry jerk got in my face because he was too stupid to read a coupon. A customer came up to me, the manager, with a warm smile and an extended hand. I grabbed his hand and shook it, as normal people in society do. He immediately dropped his smile and said angrily, "You may have noticed my hands are soaking wet. You are completely out of paper towels in the bathroom." I pulled my hand back. "That's because there are no paper towels in the bathroom. There are hand dryers." I was caught off guard by this one. That's not even particularly mean or rude, it's just really weird. I was at work, $, and there was a lady that came in wondering about the difference between a frappe and a latte. She's a regular and usually gets brewed coffee, so I explained it to her. Blended versus espresso. She asked if they both came in decaf and I said yes. She asked for the strongest tasting drink we have and I said plain espresso has the strongest taste and is stronger than the brewed. She ended up ordering an Americano, venti, and asked for it in decaf and I said sure. She later exclaimed that she was going to work a 12-hour day and needed the caffeine. I told her multiple times that decaf means no caffeine and pretty much just the flavor. She told me I was wrong and told my boss I was wrong. Why? I worked at a gas station. Guy walks in, asks for cigarettes, I ring them up. Guy flips his crap that I'm ripping him off. The sign clearly says $5.83 and tax. He wants to know why they are $6.15 or whatever sales tax adds to them. I then spent 5 minutes of my life explaining the intricacies of sales tax to a 42-year-old child. I worked as a Seattle's best barista at a Borders bookstore back when that was a thing. RIP. We made these delicious cold drinks called Javaculus. Basically a frappuccino, but in my opinion, much better due to the ingredients in each specific one. It was a summer day and there was a very long line wrapping all around the cafe filled with people who wanted drinks from us. A lady approached the counter and asked if our Javaculus tasted at all like the vanilla coffee fraps you can get at gas stations. I answered honestly, no, they're not the same, but they have enough similarities in taste and texture. She agreed to try one. I made her a vanilla Javacula. She tried it and at once wanted it remade because it wasn't quite enough like the ones at the gas station. Again, I told her this would not be the same drink, but I could add more vanilla powder as to give it a creamier taste. She tried the second attempt. Again, this isn't what I get at the gas station. She's beginning to get irate. Put less coffee in it. Put more milk. Add more flavor. As if she can somehow design this drink herself. This goes on for 2x more each time she asks for it to be remade. Best part, customer behind her says loudly, maybe if you don't think it's enough like the fraps at the gas station, you should go to the damned gas station. The lady's face was priceless. She loped away and I was able to proceed with my other guests. It took everything out of me not to laugh at her. Just a few days ago, a woman came through my register. She was buying a cart full of pretty typical family stuff. Cereal, baby food, kids clothing, etc. She was on her phone the whole time, which is pretty typical for this store for some reason. Early in the transaction, she just sort of announces to herself, other person on the phone, crap, I forgot the liners. Notice she just said liners, not any specific product name or hint as to what she meant. I went through my usual script of how are you doing today? Huh, oh, fine. And then did you find everything you needed? Which was met with a look of confusion before she returned to her phone call, slowly unloading her cart. I scan all of her items as I make one-sided small talk because I like annoying the people who are on their phones the whole time. Stuff like, oh, what a cute shirt. This cereal looks good, etc. As I tell her the total, she manages to take the phone away from her ear to ask me, so did they grab my liners? Me, what is it that you needed exactly? Her, say I told you I forgot to grab liners. So did someone get them for me yet? I'm kind of in a hurry. Me, well, mom, I wasn't sure what you meant. Trash bag liners? Feminine products? I couldn't think of another meaning for the word. Her, another loud sigh, baby. Bottle, liners, I need them. Someone needs to go get them. I call the infant department and ask her questions like the bottle size, if she wants a big small pack, store brand or name brand, and repeat the info to the employee on the sales floor so he can grab them. All of these questions are, of course, a major inconvenience because I'm interrupting her phone call. The co-worker shows up with a package that matches what the customer has told me. She looks at it and goes, this is not the kind I use. I specifically told you drop-in bottle liners, store brand. I keep smiling and ask the co-worker to grab the correct kind with this new knowledge of exactly what she wants. Her number. This is ridiculous. I'm late to pick up my kids. She just walked away from my register, leaving all of her items bagged and in the cart, which she left. She didn't steal anything. And grumbling to her friend on the phone about how incompetent we all were. All because she couldn't just tell us what she needed, or actually ask me to have someone grab it, or even remember to pick it up herself during her shopping. In England they'd tell her to frick off and get it herself if the stupid bee forgot it. This isn't a 5-hotel lady and I'm not the butler. I used to do customer service for a major pharmacy. We had a customer complain that the pharmacist had barred her from buying on the shelf codeine products and demanded she get a prescription if she wants more codeine. I talked to the doctor, she explained, very slowly, but he doesn't think I need them. But he's wrong. She used her rewards card every time she bought codeine, so we were able to see how bad it really was. She was literally taking 120 codeine pills every day. We notified every pharmacy in the area that she was abusing them and backed the pharmacist up. I thought she'd be P, but God bless codeine. She just said, "What? Huh? Oh, yeah, okay, yep." She wasn't taking those pills. BTW. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.